Hey, friend, welcome back to another episode of Passports, Profits, and Pixie Dust, the podcast where we talk all things travel business, marketing, mindset, and building a business that actually supports the life you want to live, whatever that looks like for you. I'm your host, Lindsay Dollinger. I'm the travel agency owner of At Last I See the World Travel. I am also still a high school Spanish teacher by day and a business coach and someone who just loves finding ways to work smarter and not harder. Today's episode is one I've wanted to record for a while because anytime I share behind the scenes look at my business, people are fascinated. And I'm the same way with other people. I want to see and hear what's working for people and what are they doing and how can I apply that to my own business and make it work for me. And one question that I always get asked, and someone asked me this today and was commenting, like, I thought I was busy, but it's how do you do all of it? How are you still teaching full time? How are you running an agency, coaching advisors, creating content, traveling, and still answering your clients? And the answer is honestly, I don't do it all manually. I am very good with time. I am very good with, um, deadlines and honestly that self-awareness of knowing myself and knowing like the sort of pressure that I need to put on myself for procrastination, I guess, but also what my limits are. And I've learned that the hard way. But all of that to say, I don't do everything manually. I really have leaned in over the years, especially to helping, or I guess having AI help me, but buying templates and automating things and just how can I make this simpler and easier for me, working smarter, not harder? And a big piece of that is I automate as much as humanly possible. So before I dive in, I want to make something really clear. Automation does not replace relationships. Automation creates space so I can build better relationships and spend my time doing things that like I have to be the one physically humanly doing versus the things that I can delegate or I can automate to technology. Most of it is technology. That's a huge difference. So today I'm going to pull back the curtain and share everything I automate in my travel business, the tools I use, and why I think every travel advisor should be automating and embracing automation, whether you're brand new or you're 6 figures, 7 figures into your business. So let's dive in. I think sometimes automation gets a bad reputation because people hear automation automatically picture robotic emails and cold customer service or AI pretending to be human. And that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about automation meaning simply letting technology handle the repetitive tasks that don't require your brain energy, your brain effort. You actually physically doing the things. So things like sending reminders, delivering information, organizing your clients, following up, creating itineraries, scheduling appointments. None of those things require me to set up my computer every single time that I do them. Instead, I spend my time where I'm actually valuable and I have to be doing the things, such as helping clients make decisions, getting on the phone and talking to a supplier to solve a problem, finding amazing vacations and matching things with my expertise, building relationships. That's where I want my energy going. So the biggest automation in my business is my CRM. My CRM, I have a lot of things set up, and I'm going to talk about what those are in just a second, but I have a lot of those things set up in my CRM. I currently use Turn, and honestly, it has completely changed the way I run my agency. Every client moves through a workflow. So instead of asking myself, what email do I send next? Or do I have any deadlines coming up? And trying to pull those things out of my brain and worrying that I'm forgetting something, the system already knows because I have the system set up to work for me. So as soon as I move a trip into the next stage, the next email is already scheduled. My clients get consistent communication every single time so that I'm able to keep the same level of service for everyone so that one client doesn't talk to another and be like, well, I never, she never told me that. No one falls through the cracks this way. And this was, I think, the biggest reason that I actually moved to a CRM was because I was afraid that I was going to miss a deadline and I was going to be responsible for my client's trip being canceled, or I was going to miss telling them about mobile passport control or heck, something even more serious like that they needed a visa for something or reminding them to renew their passports. So the automation is going to save you time and energy and help you make even less mistakes. One of my favorite automations is my client email workflows. So I've been working on these for a really long time. And I'm going to tell you what this looks like. But I will be completely honest. I bought a lot of these when I was very first was starting out from Corinne Johnson in what does she call hers? The cruise business blueprint, but I actually bought them before I joined Cruise Business Blueprint as well. It's kind of a mouthful. But I bought them directly from her on her Travel Biz Boss website. So I bought those, and I bought those way back when I was still using Travel Joy. And it was really eye-opening. I'm like, people send all these emails, people automate all these emails. Why have I not been doing this before? Because I love automation, but I just wasn't doing it yet, specifically in my travel business. Because remember, I had some other businesses before this. So once someone books with me, they're not just left wondering what happens next. Instead, they're going to receive emails throughout the planning process. Things telling them like what happens after booking. When will I be in contact? These are, like giving them a timeline, giving them all of the information that they need. I have all of that pre-scheduled and in templates. Payment reminders, passport reminders, travel insurance information and reminders. And that's just as good, as much like important for them as it is for me, right? Cruise checklist, Disney planning timelines, packing reminders, final trip documents, welcome home emails as well, and those follow-ups. Every trip does have different workflows. So I have, workflows specifically for ocean cruises, river cruises, Disney, all-inclusive. I have one that's general FIT. I have one for all-inclusives. I think I already said all-inclusives. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, like broad. I think those are my big, broad workflows. And then over time, I've split and added like mini workflows for certain cruise lines. So, Norwegian check-in is going to be different than Carnival, than Royal, than Celebrity, etc. So I have, some different workflows for those. I also have a couple different workflows for some different river cruise companies. Disney, I've split into Walt Disney World's my main seller, but I have Aulani now and Disneyland. Yeah. And then I have one for Disney Cruises. And then I just made one for Universal. Okay. So like I said, all of this doesn't need to be done at like, I would pick the thing that you're selling the most of and start that first is what I'm trying to say. These emails are going to answer questions before clients even think to ask them. And here's what's funny. People will often email me saying, thank you so much for thinking of this, when really it was my automation doing the remembering, not me. My Disney Cruise Line, not Disney Cruise Line, I'm sorry. My Walt Disney World booked, I think, is my longest one. My automations for that workflow, I guess I could look it up, but I think it's like 50 emails. It's a lot because there's a lot of stuff to know for Disney. Now, they're not all toggled to automatically send. And when I mean automatically send, I have certain ones that send as soon as the trip is booked. And then the rest of them are at some sort of specific time before the trip travels. So it might be like this email will send 30 days before. This one will send 60 days before. This one will send 70 days before. Like the dining one will send 70 days before. And then a reminder will send at 62 days. Like, hey, your dining opens in 2 days, right? So like there are some emails like that, right? Where was I going with that? So Disney is definitely my longest one. But then there's some that the automations get turned on. So for example, for some of my cruise lines, I have emails in there ready to turn on in the workflow if it applies to that specific trip for things like a specific cruise line port stop. Like if it's stopping at this private island, turn this email on. Different things like that. For Virgin Voyages, for example, I have certain ones I turn on for Rockstar Suites versus accessible suites versus just like a normal room. So those are the sort of things that you can create once, upload into your CRM, take 5 or 10 minutes to set up those automations, and then you can have them easily apply to any future trip or even past trips that are, or like trips that are already created that haven't been traveled yet. And it will save you so much. I promise. Like that easily has saved me, I don't even know, probably 1,000 hours. Okay, the next thing that I automate is consultation calls. So I personally use TidyCal. I used Calendly for a really long time. And then someone turned me on to TidyCal. Essentially, it's the same thing, but it's a one-time lifetime fee. And it was like, I don't know, $20 or something, super cheap. And before that, I was paying $110 a year for Calendly. I also know Turn has scheduling built into it. So if you're using Turn, check into that and see if that's going to do what you need it to do. I like Tidy Cow because I also obviously have this podcast. So I have slots for podcast guests that are different days than client calls. And then also I have coaching calls that people can buy or that my team gets for the women in my travel agency. So anyway, I have a bunch of different consultation calls. I do that through TidyCal, like I mentioned, and I automate almost everything surrounding that call. So when someone books a consultation, they will automatically receive the confirmation email, a calendar invite, reminders a day before and 1 hour before, with the instructions in it, with the Zoom already linked in it. And then after the call, I have follow-up emails I can set up as well. So I don't have to remember to send any of it. It just happens, which means every potential client has a consistent experience, whether it's a Monday morning, whether they book in the middle of the night, it doesn't matter, right? And we want that. We want that consistent service, and those reminder, because that also, again, saves you time. So you're not showing up on a call that someone forgot about because you didn't send a reminder. My team gets the automations too. So that's what I mentioned. It's not just for my clients. My travel advisors also receive the automations not only through the calls, but I also automated part of my onboarding sequence with them. So when a new travel advisor joins my agency, they get put into a 30-day email sequence. I put a little tag on them in Flowdesk that says, "At last I see the world travel agent." And then that starts them into dripping out an email a day for 30 days where they get a little lesson, a link to a resource, some encouragement from me, a training reminder, something like that. So that instead, they could take, I also provide an onboarding packet. It's extensive. Things are linked. They can take that and run with it, or they can also follow along with the day-by-day drips. And then they can also just save those in their email and then go back to them if they want to reference them. So people learn little by little instead of overwhelming them on day one. And that's honestly one of the things I'm proudest of that I built into my training, because I think it gives everyone the same foundation no matter when they join, which is really huge for me. Templates. So I mentioned this a little bit already when I was talking about my CRM, but I don't write the same email twice, ever. If I answer the same question more than once or twice, it's going to become a template. So some things that I have templates for are answering questions about planning fees, travel insurance, cruise deposits, final payments. I actually have one, and I got these from the Cruise Business Blueprint. That's my cruise deposit and my final payment email for separated by cruise lines, which is really nice. Required documents, room category questions, shore excursion, recommendations, dining reservations, packing, airfare transfers, travel protection. The list goes on forever. So I can go in and I can customize them for each client and make different tweaks. But instead of starting from scratch at the very beginning and being like, oh, and then having to send a second and third email, I forgot to mention, you can take the time to craft something that is really great, save it into your CRM, and then pull it up when it's time to email that. The other great thing to remember is this doesn't have to be perfect from day one. Like, you can go in, I just went in and tweaked something about a Disney World email. I'm not going to be able to remember what it was, but it was something about a recommendation for a restaurant. And I was like, ooh, I need to add this one because it's new. So I went in and I tweaked that email. So now my future clients going to Disney World are going to get, an even better version of that email that I just keep building on as I work. Let's talk AI, because yes, I absolutely use AI, and it doesn't run my business, but it helps me, and it helps me a lot. So inside term, I use the built-in AI to create itineraries and polish destination information. It gives me a great starting point that I can then personalize for each client. That's that, and then using the automation features is largely what I do in turn. I know there's a ton, and it's actually been a very hot button discussion recently, because they recently added levels of AI usage as of July 1st this year, so very new, of the AI. I don't do, like I said, I don't use a lot of those extra features. Should I probably look into it a little more, because like I said, I do love using AI, yes, but it just hasn't been a priority for me right now. But use it, try it out. Don't be afraid of AI, especially when companies are taking the time to build it into their things that you already use and love. Why would you not? Outside of my CRM, I also use AI to help brainstorm content ideas. I use it very heavily in my content planning. This is something I just did a training for my travel agents and showed them how I use ChatGPT along with Canva, along with like my own graphics and images and B-roll, but also some from Rita Perez's, what does she call it? I get all the names mixed up. The Cruise Content Library. I have some stuff from her and some other things that I bought on Etsy. And I use that to create content. And I do it in a very easy, simple way, and it works really well for me. I also use AI to outline podcast episodes like this one, to organize my thoughts, to rewrite drafts when I feel stuck in emails, especially responding to people. And I want them to sound a little bit more polished, or take out some of the emotion of this. If you're feeling like hot-headed and you want to respond. I use it a lot when communicating with the different insurance companies, travel insurance companies, and with Carnival, when all this stuff went down with my dad's fall. So the ways that you can use AI right now really are kind of endless. And if you are not doing it, I'm afraid that you are going to be left behind. So this is my encouragement to you. Just start and give it a try. And if you hate what it puts out, you don't have to use it, right? But just see what it comes up with, see how you can tweak it and make it your own, and go from there. I turned the light on in the background if you're watching this lifetime, and there's like a beam of light streaming in, but oh well, we're gonna go with it. Okay, so that's it. That's AI. Actually, one more thing I want to say about AI. The important thing is this. AI always gives me a first draft. It's not my final draft. My personality, my experience, my recommendations, those still come from me, and those are still going to come from you as well. Clients aren't hiring ChatGPT. They're hiring Lindsay. They're hiring you. AI just helps me get to the finish line faster and helps me save some of that energy and that brain space for the things that actually need it to be saved for. Scheduling everything. Scheduling software is another lifesaver. Instead of emailing back and forth 17 times, does Tuesday work? How about Thursday? No, friend, no. If you're doing any sort of call, have a call link. We are over. I honestly, I have not worked with businesses before if they don't have a call link. When I was looking for a travel lawyer to put together all my my contracts. I shouldn't have recorded this podcast episode later at night for me. I'm a morning podcaster. But so my brain's a little fried. I apologize. But I was looking around for a lawyer, and I had reached out to Tom Carpenter's team, who I ended up going with. But I had also reached out to a second one because I'm like, I always want to do my due diligence and see. And he didn't have a scheduler. And I was just like, hard no. We're not doing this. I don't have time for this. So have the scheduler if you're doing that. And don't forget, you can schedule emails. Like if you're responding to a client, and if you're working outside of your work hours and you don't want them to know that you are, and it's not something urgent, schedule it inside your email to be sent during your work hours so that you can maintain those boundaries with your clients. Let's see. One more thing that I really use for automation is content scheduling. And this isn't a ton automation because I'm actually doing all of the work for it. However, I batch create my content, and then I do have my VA go in and schedule it for me. But even if you don't have a VA going in and scheduling for you, just the act of scheduling it, that is automation, whether you know it or not. So if you are one of those people who like to batch content, or you are not consistent regularly, like especially when I'm going to be gone on a trip, I want to be able to show up every day still. So those are sorts of things that I am pre-scheduling ahead of time so that I am still being consistent in my business while I'm actually not, while I'm offline, right? So instead of waking up every day wondering, what should I post today? My content's already working while I'm teaching in the classroom, while I'm traveling, while I'm spending time with my family. And this all goes back to something that is really important in my business, and that is consistency. Consistency beats inspiration every single time. So I want you to get consistent in your business. And for the majority of us, you're going to need some of this automation in order to be consistent. I promise you. Because if you're not doing these things, you are working 10 times harder, 10 times longer, probably more hours. I know more hours, not probably. I know you're working more hours than you have to be, and you're probably not getting as much results as you could be if you were doing some of these things. People assume automation saves time, and it absolutely does. But the biggest benefit is the consistency. It's the consistency, and it's that things are no longer draining your energy the way that they are without the automation. Every client gets the same experience. Nobody's forgotten. Nobody gets less information because I was busy. Or heck, because I'm in Miami with my dad, where he's having surgery on his leg because he fell on our cruise ship, which is a true story if you're new here. Like those sorts of things, we can't know those things are going to happen, but we can prepare the best way that we can by setting up these things that are actually professional. They are making you have a business that is a legitimate business. My business feels organized. It is professional. It's reliable. And that's incredibly important in this industry. And that is how you're going to have those raving fan clients who are coming back and they're referring more people to you because they recognize all of these things that you're putting in place. So if all this sounds overwhelming, I don't want you to automate everything tomorrow. I want you just to start with one thing. Ask yourself, what are some tasks that I do that I repeat for every trip or that I repeat every week? That's your first automation. I'll give you some ideas. Maybe it's your inquiry response. Like when a quote form comes in, what do they get back? Do they get something back from you? Maybe it's your consultation reminders. Maybe you don't have a TidyCal link and it's time to set up a call link. Your payment reminders about something due. A welcome email that you send out to new potential clients or new clients. A packing list. Just one thing. Just automate one thing. And then when you do that one thing, then we're going to automate another and another. And over time, you'll have your entire business running smoother than you could ever have imagined. Here's something I want you to remember. Automation doesn't make your business less personal. It actually allows you to be more personal because instead of spending hours copying and pasting other emails and getting frustrated because you can't find the thing that you want to send, you're spending that time calling a client, celebrating a booking, checking in after a trip, building relationships. Technology is handling the repetitive work and you get to handle the human work. And that's the magic. If you enjoyed this behind the scenes episode, I'd love for you to screenshot it, share it on Instagram or Facebook, and tag me so I can see that you're listening. I really have appreciated. I've been getting lots more DMs than I normally do. So thanks, guys, for being so willing to slide into my DMs or even like Facebook post comments. People are saying like, or commenting on a post about something different and someone's like, oh my gosh, I just found your podcast. I love it. Those messages, seriously, like I'm giving you a heart right now. Really keep me going because I don't get anything for doing this podcast, right? I've been doing this podcast. Heck, we're almost at 500 episodes. And I actually was talking to my business coach about that. And a lot of people don't really understand it. They're like, why are you still making content for, and not being able to really monetize it? And I will be honest, friends, I'm hoping to bring back, and I've shared this before, the travel agent marketing studio in some sort of way this fall. I'm still brainstorming what I really want that to look like and feel good about that. But right now, my focus is on my agents and my agency. So if you're not yet a travel advisor and you are curious about all these systems that you heard me talk about and my workflows and my onboarding and automations, I teach all that to my agents inside of At Last I See the World Travel, which is my travel agency. My advisors don't have to build these systems from scratch because I've already done a lot of that heavy lifting for them. And I teach all of that to them. So if you'd like to learn more about joining my agency or want to see what these workflows actually look like, reach out to me. I love to chat with you and help you decide if it's the right fit. Thanks so much for listening in, and I will see you next week for another episode of Passports, Profits, and Pixie Dust. Until then, keep dreaming big, serving well, and building a business that gives you the freedom to enjoy the life that you are creating. Go out there and create and own your magic, friend. Bye-bye.